Hello and welcome to today's video. So this time we're going to be having a look through my vintage and modern pickups through the month of October and November 2022. I've not got masses of stuff this time, but what I have picked up I think you're going to enjoy taking a look at. So sit back, relax, and let's take a look. Okay then, so we'll start off with this one, which is Quentin Tarantino Cinema Speculation. So Tarantino always said that once his movie run was sort of completed, and there's rumours he might do one last movie, but he always said he was going to turn his attention to writing, and he's already written the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which came out as a paperback original, but this is his first sort of non-fiction books, Cinema Speculation, and it's sort of about, I mean, it's really great, really. It's the films that influenced him when he was growing up in the 1970s. So he was born 1963. So, in the 70s, he was like in those formative teenage years, and it sort of formed the basis for the films that he would go on to make in later life. So it's very much around 1970s and his influences as a filmmaker. It's a great book there, and as you can see, beautifully laid out, as you would expect. It's got a few photographs in as well. He also it's partly autobiographical, but it's a great book. It's only just been published. I recommend you picking this one up if you've got a love of either Tarantino and his movies, or just cinema in general. I think you're going to really enjoy it. So that one is a great book that's only just been published, and it's sort of recommended. Now, this one I picked up fairly recently. In fact, literally only arrived this week. As you can see, it's new. It's actually brand new, but it's as you know, I've got a real love of prisoner of war escape stories, especially Second World War ones, and this is one called The Last Escape, John Nichol and Tony Riddle. It was one that came out and it just sort of passed under my radar. Untold story of Allied prisoners of war in Germany 44-45. I've not read this myself. However, I came across it on eBay and I noticed it was signed by both authors, and it only cost me £2.50, and I think about £2.50 again for the postage. So I thought, well, that's an absolute bargain, really. So I went for it. So although I've not read it yet, and I will report back when I do read it, this was a great find. Now, I've had a few people ask if I'm going to be doing the prisoner of war dedicated videos. This is a look at books that were on prisoners of war, like The Colditz Story, and they have their exits, The Wooden Horse, that are part of my vintage paperback collection from all different sorts of publishers. Now, I am indeed going to try and do that before the year is out. What stopped me doing it so far is because I have to go through all my old publishers, and in some cases the titles aren't obvious, so I do really need to physically look at each book if it's one that I don't recognize, to see that it's definitely a prisoner of war related story. But don't worry, that is on the way, and I hope before Christmas. Now, as I go along, this one's virtually new. I think I'm just going to give it that little, just a brush off the top there, because as I said, it's probably been on a shelf for a little while. So that's that one. Now, this next book is one that I was sent for free by my friends at Penguin Books, Penguin Classics to be precise. Baron Bagge, a novella by Alexander Lernet Holinia. Now, I have been very busy these last couple of months, so I just didn't have time to read this. But I got a friend of mine at work, and she is a big reader, and she said, I shall read it and review it for you, Jules. And I thought, well, yeah, now as you can see, first of all, it's an absolutely gorgeous edition. Penguin Classics have done a remarkable job here, as they always do. And although it's not a particularly long book, you could say it was almost a novella. They put it in beautiful packaging. So my friend Kate, this is her sort of potted review really of it. So she says, Baron Bagge was a cavalier officer back in 1915. His mentality unsuitable for a commanding officer. So writes Meister Semmler, orders an attack on a bridge held by a Russian army in real life. Somewhere in between, he lost his sense of reality, thinking he got hit by a rock in the battle, but in actual reality, he had been shot. He carried on thinking it was real, but dreamt from the first bridge the casualties were not that bad, when in reality they were catastrophic. He thought the army had proceeded forward and thought he would end up in an enemy-held territory, but he comes across a peaceful and welcoming civilian population in a Ukraine town. This is where, in his dreams, he meets Charlotte, falls in love, thinks he marries her. The commanding officer, Reichmeister Semmler, orders the unit to leave town, and Bagge promises he'll be back for Charlotte. She doesn't think he'll return. The unit rides on for 5 more days as they come across a bridge made of pure gold over a river, and he was told he had to cross it. He didn't want to because he didn't believe it was real. Bagge wakes up and is still at the first bridge. He's been shot, ends up in hospital, slowly recovering. He realizes that the marriage to Charlotte and the peaceful town in Ukraine was all but a dream. So after the war, he travels back in real life and finds out that there was a real woman called Charlotte, but she died in the war and was not as attractive as he dreamt of. A lot of the stuff he dreamt of, like the gold bridge and friends in his unit, were also not real. He visited her grave in real life, was like visiting a stranger's grave. Of course, she was a stranger because he hadn't met her in real life. He believed that although it was a dream, fantasy for him, it was as real as reality. The woman he dreamed of, and one that remains the one woman he would love for eternity. I think he was gutted that it wasn't real. She said, it's a fair old story, but it wouldn't be the sort of thing that she personally would want to go out and read. It has got a introduction by Patti Smith, who absolutely loved it, but I think it makes a very, very nice gift book, and if that sounds like your sort of thing, why not give it a go? Baron Bagge. Okie doke. Now, as you may have seen on the channel, I recently went to AllYouNeedIsBooks, which is a huge second-hand book business, predominantly online in actual fact, but it's run by Maurice Flanagan, and I did a tour and an interview of the warehouse. But while I was there, I didn't have a lot of time to shop, so I only picked up about a dozen plus books of the second-hand variety. But we're going to look through those right now, and I'll put them all aside because they're going to need a bit of a clean. So this is a Foursquare that I've not only not seen before, it's definitely one I haven't got. It's Foursquare number 50. It's a really, really nice copy. And on a great subject as well, San Quentin, Dramatic Story of an American Penitentiary, Clinton Duffy. So it's a true crime title. It's in great, great condition. Very, very pleased with that one for one that I haven't got, 1958. That's nice, isn't it? I like that one. So that's not going to need a lot of work. SF, so New Writings in SF number 15. So I'm putting together a run of the first first 30. There is only 30 editions of New Writing in SF, and this is number 15. So I was able to pick a handful of the ones I needed up at AllYouNeedIsBooks, which is what I was hoping for. I knew he had some stock, but it was always nice to see them in the flesh. They're not quite as mint as some of my other ones that I've got in this series, but I'm just looking to finish the run now. So that one's fine. These are just going to get a bit of a polish in a minute. Now this one I picked up, this is Foursquare number 7. I've never even seen it before. Festival at Farbridge. Quite a thick one for an early Foursquare, so it's not in the greatest of condition, but I didn't mind because, as I said, I've never even seen one in the flesh before. So it's got a little pencil mark inside, 1957. So I get my rubber out here. There we are. That didn't take much. Yeah, not the greatest copy. Got some foxing on the edges and that there, but these early Foursquares don't tend to turn up in great nick. That number 50 there, the San Quentin one, that was a real exception. I rarely see them like that. Although, as I actually mentioned in the interview, at one of Morris's paperback shows in London, there was a dealer there who had a load of Foursquare, and they were mint and red. So I wonder if that San Quentin one came from that little find. I don't know. This is E number 4 in the E series for Pan Books, Naked Came I. Once again, a big, huge book. And if I'm out and about in a second-hand bookshop, or in this case, I was in the AllYouNeedIsBooks warehouse, if it's a big old book like this, something like that, it's going to, if you buy it mail order, that's going to cost over £3.50 to be sent out to you. So, if the book itself is only about £3, without any postage, that's the time to pick it up. So I did grab this one. Once again, it's one I've never found in the wild. 1965 Panther, and yeah, very, very nice, that one. I'm not sure who the cover artist is, but even so, yeah, I thought that was probably worth grabbing while I saw a nice copy of it. Here's another early Foursquare. It's number 9 by A.P. Huber, and Foursquare published it as Foursquare number 9 as well. I'm certain that that must be deliberate. Absolutely certain of it. Got the famous cover by Mortalmans, who did so many of the early Foursquare ones. Bit of a risque cover there. This has had a little bit of pages turned over, but that's something we can easily sort out. I'm not too worried about that. As I said, the early Foursquares, you just don't see them around. And it's not the sort of publisher I'd like to pick off book by book online. It would just prove too expensive. But finding them second-hand like this and filling in the numbers, that's sort of the way I like to do it on this publisher. 1957 again. So that's good. But once again, all of these are going to need a bit of a polish in a minute. Now here's a book I wasn't expecting to pick up at All You Need Is Books. It's the Minder paperback. Now this used to be so common, and I realised that only when I saw it that I realised I didn't actually have a copy of it. I'm a big Minder fan. I've got the Minder Annual, and I got a couple of books by Dennis Waterman, but I haven't actually got this one and only Minder tie-in paperback. So I was pleased to get this one, and it's a nice copy as well. I think Morris had about 4 on the shelf, so I picked the best one for myself, and yeah, quite nice that. Once again, a lot of Morris's stuff, I think because they've been stored in a warehouse, they just need like a little cursory polish, which we'll do in a little while, and we'll brush the tops, of course. Just in case you've not been to it, AllYouNeedIsBooks.co.uk. That's the website address. So if you've never been there, it's worth a trip. Now, a rare penguin. So I finally got one of the rare penguins that I'm after. So I have actually had some success, and I've gone from 9 vintage penguins wanted down to 4, if you can believe it. So that's good news. The last 4 I needed actually turned up on a dealer's list recently, but sadly I was well down the list of orders picked out, and I didn't get any of them. So still down to 4 books, but even so, this is perhaps the very rarest orange penguin that ever got published, and this copy is without a back cover. It's got the spine though, which is something, which is number 327. Full House by M.J. Farrell. By far the scarcest orange penguin that's out there. I also got a couple of crossword books. So very pleased to get these. One of them was from a chap called Ian Allison. He is a viewer, and he collects crossword puzzle books and puzzle books in general, and he also compiles a puzzle for the Sunday Times newspaper each week, and they've got a brilliant Twitter feed which I follow now, which has got some great vintage puzzle related stuff on it, and he had one of the missing crossword books that I needed, and he gave it to me for a very reasonable price, so I was delighted to get that. So that was one of the ones I needed, and then the other one was this one, was the Manchester Garden, which I was able to get one from Drew the Penguin chap. So this one has a little bit, I think that was the one I got from Drew. This is the one I got from Ian. And this one actually is going to need a little bit of repair, because it's the bottom of the spine is just coming away. So I'm going to do that, because that's a nice easy fix. That I can just slide some Pritt stick in there. And as you know, the way I do it, I just pop it on the end of this small screwdriver, and that seems to be enough to do the trick. So just put a little slither on there, like so. So yeah, I had a fantastic time with my friend Steve, the outlaw bookseller, at Morris's All You Need Is Books. The only problem was, time we got there, I got caught in a little bit of traffic, and Steve's train was a bit delayed, and being this time of year, we just ran out of time and daylight really to have a really good look around. But I am still hoping to get up there again fairly soon, just to do a buying trip rather than any sort of filming or major filming. Last time I went up, I did interview Morris, and he brought down a few of his bits of artwork and stuff from his own personal collection for us to see in film, and that obviously took some time away from me having a chance to browse properly. But I'm hoping to rectify that very soon, and when I do, I shall obviously let you know, because I think there was absolutely stacks and stacks of other vintage books that I'd like to buy up there. It was just a case of I would need to look at my lists and stuff, and what I did pick up was things that I knew I definitely didn't have. Like, I picked up a handful of Panther crime bands. So Panther crime band was a very short-lived, like, mini crime imprint of Panther, and they just only did it for like a year or two at most, and I've got a few already, and I'd love to have a definitive list. Yet 1966, so this is not a crime book by an author that I actually know, but I am putting together a little run of these, and when I think I've got a pretty good batch of them, I will show them in like a dedicated video on the channel. But for now, I'm just at the stage where I'm just picking them up and seeing what's out there, because I just don't know. You know, that it's as simple as that. But for now, that's nice. I quite like that one. They often, most of them have got photograph covers. In fact, I think they all have photograph covers, which was the trend back then. And some of them, like this one, have like a triptych of three pictures portraying like a mini story with the diamonds on the end. It has that little bit of intrigue, which I absolutely love, and there's just something about those that I just really like. So I've got a couple of others. Now, you've probably heard of this one. This is from Doomed to Death, which I believe was possibly Ruth Rendell's first book, as I recall. It's a very expensive hardback, so I just wonder if it has any other books listed by Ruth Rendell inside, because I always thought this was her first book. Yeah, it doesn't say anything else about any other books, so I'm pretty sure it was. So I think that represented quite a bargain, that the author's first book in first paperback, and as luck would have it, it came out as another Panther crime band. And you can see, I would think, why I love these so much. It's just they're so distinctive, aren't they? Once again, it's got that wraparound jacket. Great, isn't it? Woman, she's been strangled and then covered up with her own jumper. Poor girl. Dear, oh dear. And I've got one more here. Monkey on a Chain. Once again, not an author I recognise, I'm afraid. Is this a wraparound? Well, it doesn't give a lot, does it? It's a little, like a montage of different elements of the story. Don't miss it, says the Observer. So there's some others. I've got the Ipcris file, and we've just had a look at that Florentine finish, and I've got the two Van Gulicks. So there's not that many that came as a Panther crime band, but I would just love to know if I've tracked them all down. I mean, I know I haven't got them all yet. There's a whole raft of Chester Himes, which came out in this format. Now, I've got the Chester Himes already in various editions, but I had the chance to pick up the Panther crime bands, but they were a little bit pricey. They were about £8 a pop. Admittedly, they were nice copies, but that was a little bit more than I wanted to pay for books that I've already got. So I gave them a miss, and you know, I sort of regret it now, but it was still a bit dear. I'm sure I can pick them up sort of cheaper than that. But he's had a revival of late, Chester Himes, and maybe that was the going rate, you know. But anyway, 3 Panther crime bands, very, very scarce to find, but not everyone's cup of tea, so I'm always on the lookout for those. I got a couple of these, which, once again, I was really, really pleased to get. So I'm a big fan of the TV series Danger Man, as it was over here. In America, it came out as Secret Agent, and these are a couple of quite not difficult to find books, but it was about a couple, once again, I didn't have in my collection. And as I said, I absolutely love the TV series. Really, really do. It's great. Even though it's really ancient these days, the early 1960s it came out. The stories are great. The actual prints that exist are fantastic. They're all done on film, so they really survived in great condition. And McGowan is just a mesmerising actor to watch, and the guest stars each week. I mean, everyone under the sun did a guest spot on Danger Man over the years, and it's just brilliant. These are really nice copies. McFadden. I didn't even bother to see what printing they were. I was just pleased to get them. 1966. In a lot of cases, these movie or TV and movie times actually, but TV times generally only ever had one printing anyway. But I'm very pleased to get these. This is the same publisher. Great 60s design. The sellotape making this particularly difficult to get into, so I've got my scalpel out. There we are. That's all it needed. There we are. Departure deferred. Another nice one. A little bit of wear sort of on the front jacket, which I think will come off once it's been polished, but great stuff. What a really funky design that is on the back cover, isn't it? Absolutely brilliant. Red edges as well. Yeah, 1960. So I think that's a really nice pair, that one. I'm very pleased with those. Good stuff. Now, before we start on the next little batch of books, I had a message from a viewer called Michael Abbott. Now, Michael Abbott had recently watched my video on Albatross books, and he was commenting how he thought they were a really lovely collection, and how he's only got one of the Albatross books, but he does have quite a run of the Touch Niche editions and Zephyr books. That's what he collects himself. But what he did, which was I thought quite interesting, was he went onto Google Maps and he found the original address in Paris where Albatross books actually set up as 5 Rue Chanoise. So there we are. I'll pop that picture up on the screen now. And like he says, it does look quite a fancy little address, doesn't it? And amazing that he went and tracked it down. I think it's fantastic. So really pleased for that. Thank you very much for sending that in, Michael. This is the sort of stuff that we love to have on the channel. So that's great stuff. Okay then, so next we're on to this one. Ben McIntyre. Very interesting historian. He takes classic historical instances and puts his own particular spin on them. And as I've said many a time, I'm a huge fan of Colditz, and this one is a brand new book, the first book on Colditz for ages. My wife got me this one because it's a signed copy. She got it for my birthday. And basically, the spin is, the real Colditz story asks a simple question: what would you have done? So basically, it's justifying the prisoners escaping. There we are. And it's very well illustrated. Ben McIntyre obviously was the author of Operation Mincemeat. That was his last massive hit, I suppose. I haven't read this yet. I'm going to be reading it very soon. As I said, huge Colditz fan. I think it's going to be fantastic. I had hoped to get out to Colditz this year, but sadly it didn't happen. But maybe it's something I can organise with my mate to do next year. But there we are. So nice first edition, nice signed edition there. I'm not sure if that was an exclusive to a particular book chain, but I, for one, were very pleased to get that as a present, and it was actually my son who bought me that one. So, what great taste he has. Now, also received from Penguin, and these had just come out like about a week ago since as I filmed this, is the second selection of Penguin Little Clothbound Classics. So these are the small format hardbacks that Penguin have been publishing recently, with the covers designed by Carly Bickford Smith. Now, I'm an absolutely massive fan of these, and they did publish 10 as part of the autumn collection, and another 10 have come out now for the winter collection, and there will be obviously more down the line. There'll be 14 total. Penguin graciously sent me another 4 for review on the channel, so here they are, and they did send the ones that I was really after. So this is one by Saki, Reginald's Christmas Revel. Now, I don't know much about this. Obviously, I know Saki's or H.H. Munro's most famous books, and this is actually quite a thick one for a cloth bound. So that is going to be a bit of a revelation. I'm not sure about that one. This is absolutely lovely. So it's a Virginia Woolf, very much a Penguin author. Street Haunting. Look at this. just make the greatest gifts, particularly at Christmas. And you've got 20 of these that you can choose through now. My all-time favourite Conan Doyle story. So absolutely amazing, Adventures of the Blue Carbuncle. I absolutely love this one. It's the one that's set at Christmas. In fact, it opens on sort of Christmas Eve, and goes through into the morning of Christmas Day. And I thought that the designer, Carly Bickford Smith, would put the carbuncle itself, which is like this big gem, on the front, but she actually used the goose from the story. So I don't know if you're familiar with it, but basically the blue carbuncle gets stolen from this hotel room and gets hidden accidentally inside a goose. Then the goose, leading up to Christmas, of course, gets lost, and it comes to Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson to track down the goose with the blue carbuncle in, and free a man who's been framed for its theft. So it's absolutely fantastic. The Jeremy Brett, David Burke adaptation, or Edward Hardwick it is actually by then. No, it is still David Burke, actually. Yeah, Jeremy Brett, David Burke, because his first season one that Granada did is a really faithful adaptation of this particular book, and I heartily recommend watching that one as well. Then the final one is another one, Truman Capote, and it says, I think next to In Cold Blood, Breakfast at Tiffany's is equally his most famous novel. Absolutely fantastic edition of this one. I'm not 100% sure what the cover is supposed to sort of typify. Is it elegance, or I don't know. I'm not sure on that one. Is this diamonds? I think there must be diamonds of some sort. Yeah, I think that must be what it is. But it's a beautiful book. Penguin, of course, published this back in the 1960s when it first came out, and it's great to see that as part of the clothbound classics. And don't they look absolutely beautiful? They really do. Look at that. And when you've got a run of these together, they're just going to be looking fantastic. So I urge you to go to your local bookstore and pick some of these up. I will, all the books that we show today that are brand new, I will put links to in the description down below, because you might just want to buy these online. But the clothbound classics, absolutely fantastic. Right, we've got a few more second-hand books to get through that I picked up at AllYouNeedIsBooks, and what a great one. This has actually already been published as a larger format Penguin Clothbound Classics, but this is the original cover to the American paperback edition. So I do collect George Orwell, and I've been a big fan of his works, and I've got my all-time favourite of his is Down and Out in Paris and London. However, I always wanted 1984, and because of the time that this was published, it has got that slightly edgy, sort of, I don't know, flirty sort of cover on it, even though there's nothing to really do with the book at all. It is quite a famous jacket, that one, and although this isn't the first print, this is a second. It was only £4. There we are, October 1950. The first goes for about £10, £12. This one's just a second, but I was happy to have it, just to have that jacket. Very nice book indeed, that, a signet one, and yeah, almost iconic. It's quite a rarity, that one, so that's lovely. We've got a few more over here. So what's this one? This is more New Writings in SF, the John Carnell edited one. This is number 8 in the series. This one's sadly got a bit of wear on the back, and I think it's going to really let down some of the other ones, but I'll give it a polish and we'll see how it comes out. But as I say, I'm really keen to finish the run of 30. I'm only about 4 short now, and I may even track those down online, book by book, just to get them. I suppose it is 1966, so it's almost 60 years old. I can't be too fussy, can I? Here's volume 9 in the series. So the great stuff. They got some brilliant stories in. Sometimes it's the first time the authors really saw print, you know. So they are definitely worth having. That's the 9th collection there. That's absolutely fine. And here's the 14th one, slightly later, early 70s now. Quite a funky cover, that, isn't it? It's a little bit of Barbarella going on there with her space boots by the look of it. yeah, my friend Steve, the Outlaw Books, has actually got some of these in hardback. I've never even seen any of the hardback ones, at least I don't think so. But I'm very pleased to get that. And the last of the second-hand books we've got to look at, once again, from All You Needed Books, was Hancock, a Corgi Books one. I vaguely remember having this, but I have a funny feeling I had a much later edition from the early 80s rather than this, which is the one from the 60s. Got some nice stills in. Interviews and scripts, of course. That's how they tend to do these Hancock books. Oh, look, it's got a little dedication to Jack. Good luck and best wishes to you. Love, Betty. Oh, thanks, Betty. Look at that. Corgi edition, 1962. There we are. And look, it gives you, introducing Hancock, then 4 little scripts. It's nice, isn't it? I do like that. Very, very thin little book. So that's it for all the second-hand ones. So we'll have to give those a bit of a brush over in a moment. Now, although this isn't quite the sort of video that I would generally show this sort of book in, it is one that I've picked up in the last month or so. I do enjoy collecting the odd diecast model these days, particularly Matchbox and the Corgi Collectors Society. This is the 18th edition of Ramsay's British Diecast Model Toys catalogue. The last edition of this I ever really looked at was the 3rd edition, and that was probably over 20 years ago. Things have changed a little bit since then, and boy oh boy is this a really, really good guidebook. I mean, it is fantastic. Absolutely everything is listed. There's photographs on every page. There's a nice like sort of history on the different manufacturers of the era before each section. This is very, very good indeed. I mean, it's one of the best price guides I've seen in quite a while, this one. So it's not the sort of thing you'd want to buy every year or even every other year, but once at least every decade you want to pick up the latest edition. And this they've done an excellent job on. It's just, even if you don't collect them, just the history and all the illustrations almost make it worth the price of admission. Absolutely fantastic. So yeah, this one came my way this year, and top marks. It's one of the best books of its kind I've seen in quite a while. It really, really is. So yeah, that's Ramsay's British Diecast, the 18th edition. Now, the last thing I wanted to show you of the brand new stuff was a magazine that I've been getting into recently, and it's this one. So it's called Cinema of the 80s and also Cinema of the 70s. So I've had, once again, I got a few of these bought for me for my birthday, so I haven't read them all, but I have read the first couple, and they are fantastic. So as far as I can see, it's one of those sort of print-on-demand titles through Amazon, and I think they're absolutely fantastic. This is Cinema of the 70s, and as I said, it just specifically for that era, and they cover so many of the sort of subjects that an era of films that I like, or Hammer horror. My favourite directors, Coppola, Scorsese, they're all in here. I mean, they really, really are, and lots of great photos, some of which have come from the author's personal collections. This is looking at some of the Clint Eastwood ones with Don Siegel. I mean, just great stuff. As I said, they've got that funny feeling about them that they are sort of print on demand, but that's not taking anything away from them, because they're a great mixture. Here's issue 2. I think this Cinema of the 70s is now up to maybe issue 8 or 9, maybe even beyond that. But as I've been getting a few Amazon vouchers for birthday and Christmas, I should be spending them filling in the gaps on this magazine here, because it's right up my alley. Absolutely love, and it's got me already scurrying back and looking at movies that I'd sort of forgotten about. I rewatched American Graffiti on the back of this. It's what I hadn't seen in absolutely ages. So it was brilliant and very, very enjoyable. So that's the first 3 issues of Cinema of the 70s. I haven't read this one yet, but this is the first issue of Cinema of the 80s. So carrying on a distinctive theme here, but moving on a decade. These are going to be 80s movies, which once again is, you think these are over 40 years old now. There's a lot of good films out in the 1980s. A lot of good films. So yeah, if you've never come across this, and you may not have, I think Cinema of the 70s, so there you, I've been really enjoying it as a read. So I think if you like this, you'll probably enjoy it too. And I also wanted to give a mention to a great YouTube channel that I've been watching for a couple of years. I don't think I've ever mentioned it, and it's called Cinema Tyler. I shall try and remember to put a link to this in the description below, but he does analysis of a lot of fantastic movies. He visits locations modern day to see how they compare to when they were shot, and the level of detail that he goes into is absolutely fantastic. I can't really do it justice except to say please go and take a look, because I think you'll absolutely love it. So just as I thought we were all done for the day and we were going to get stuck into the cleaning, well, I took my break. I had a lunch break because today's actually my birthday that I'm filming this one on, believe it or not, and the wife insisted on taking me out for lunch, and we went to lunch on the Barbican, to a pasta bar, and there is a particularly good second-hand bookshop down on the Barbican. I only go into it maybe twice, maybe 3 times a year, and I haven't really been in for a little while, probably a good 6 months or so, and lo and behold I ended up picking up a few books, because it's almost like an occupational hazard, isn't it? So we're going to be going through those ones before we move on then to finish to giving them all a final clean. Now I picked this one up only because out of all the George Orwell books, this is actually my most favourite one, and the bookshop I was in were having a bit of a sale on, where it was 3 books for £5, which I didn't think was too bad, particularly when you see some of the goodies that we've actually picked up. And my wife said, because it was my birthday, she was going to actually treat me as well. So really, it was a win-win scenario. The books were cheap to begin with, and I got them at a good price. The only thing is, this one's in an awful plastic cover, which has seen, shall we say, better days. But let's slide it out. There we are. Yeah, what a poor odd state that one is. But the reason I picked this one up is because Down Out in Paris and London is actually my all-time favourite George Orwell book. I mean, if you've never read it, I heartily recommend it. It's a great book. It's probably one that would make a very good Penguin little cloth-bound classic. So there's a big 29 there in the inside front cover, so we're going to get that off. So yeah, so for certain books and George Orwell's Down and Out, I do pretty much collect any edition that I come across fairly cheap, and although this one wasn't mint, these ones here were published around the time of 1984. By that I mean the actual year 1984, not the book 1984, and they've got these quite nice dark covers. It's a particularly nice set to get, and I've got a couple of them, and they are on my sort of radar at the moment as ones to get. I think Penguin over the years have done a particularly good job with Orwell. He's always been a Penguin author, in paperback obviously. There we are. But now that he's it's been 70 years since he died, anyone can print editions of Orwell's books. His books are out of copyright. So there you go. This is really nice. This is an upgrade to the one that I've already got in my collection. It's part of the Abraham Games scheme, where Penguin paid designer and illustrator Abraham Games to have a little experiment with about 30 titles in the Penguin list and give them all illustrated covers. This was a bit of a response to Pan doing so well. I picked this one up, even though it's one that I've got, because just look at the condition. It's beautiful. Really a real improvement on the one that I've got in my own collection. And the same could be said for this one. So this is the American first edition of Octopussy, and this is once again an improvement on the one that I've already got, and yeah, first printing. So these were 3 for £5, so I think that was pretty good. They had a lot of stock to go through, but I didn't do badly. I picked up a toucan. Now, how often do I find a toucan? Pretty rare. Thankfully I had my phone on me, and I was able to access my Google Drive, which has got my list of all these sorts of books, so I could see that number 25 in the toucan series was one that I didn't have. And as I said, these do not turn out very often. It's published in the late 1930s into the 40s, and you don't see them around that much. So even though it's quite foxed, I don't mind at all, and that was absolutely fine. Not even a price inside that one. The next 2 I think I did very well on. So these are Hutchinson's Pocket Library, but I've got a couple of services editions. Look at that. Brilliant, eh? So these are books which were not designed for general consumption. These are to be sent, only to be sold through like NAFIs, sent overseas to forces overseas outside of the UK, not to be sold in shops. And most publishers had a services edition of some sort, and Penguin had the Prisoner of War and the Forces Book Club, but the other publishers generally they just called them services editions, and that's what one of those is, and that's the same as this. Yeah, produced for the Central Services Central Book Depot, and for circulation to the fighting forces of the Allied nations. Very, very unusual. So these are wartime ones. I really like them because they're so unusual. They've generally got quite small print runs, and you just don't come across them very often. So to have two in one day is brilliant. And two Hutchinson ones, which is a publisher. I do collect the Hutchinson sixpennies. This was nice. This is another little Foursquare 311, one I've not seen before. The King Must Die, Mary Renault. Really nice jacket on that one. Quite pleased to find this one. You've got the little advertising card in, which would have been in it at publication. Got a little note inside, which I don't mind there. Look at this, look. Wednesday the 12th of the 4th, 61, the day Yuri Gagarin became the first cosmonaut. I wonder if that's when she bought it, or if that person just made a little note of this particular date. Let's try and look inside. Funny what people put in books. There we are. 1961, first published in Foursquare. It's pretty nice, that, isn't it? I love it when you get a little dedication like that. This was nice. It was another toucan. Who'd have put it? Now this is a really nice bright one, number 21, and once again I checked because I haven't got it. My suspicion is that I think this might have come in a dust wrapper because it's actually really fresh underneath. So I think it's quite a nice one, this. And as I said, you just don't generally see toucans around. They're very, very scarce. They got wrapped up, they got amalgamated, shall we say, into the Hutchinson Library eventually. But there we are, there's the first few, first 24, first 24. A few more paperbacks here. So another Pan under the Abraham Gaines one. Now this one I've picked up, even though he's a bit worn, so we're going to do a bit of a repair job on this. So I'm going to need to repair the spine in there, and that is just going to sit flat. But this is another one of the Abraham Gaines ones, it's one I haven't got, and I think it's decidedly scarce. So I was pleased to get it. I've tried to find it online, and I've still yet to find one. I keep finding a different edition that isn't the first, because I've got the normal first, and I've got the reprint, which has got a different cover again to this one. So going a bit crazy, but this was the one I wanted after all. So I've got my glue here. I said I wasn't really expecting to be doing any more cleaning and repairing, but I said these have just come in, literally only bought them a couple of hours ago from when I'm filming this, a little bit more. So I thought I'm definitely going to include them, you know, so that we're completely up to date and I can get these into my main collection as well then. But yeah, pretty nice to find these when I wasn't really expecting to go out and get any books today. So that was always a good little thing, and I didn't even have to pay for them. So extra good. I think one little more splurge will do. There we are. Yeah, bottom of the spine come away, which is a bit of a shame, but not the end of the world. A little bit at the top there, it needs gluing as well, but that's easily sorted. There we are. Lovely. So yeah, very pleased to get that particular one. I don't know about this bit of the bottom of the cover coming away there. I don't really want to. I'm just thinking whether it's worth sort of gluing that little bit down. I honestly don't think it is. I don't think it is. I'm just going to clean it as normal, and then I possibly will pop that one in a bag in the future. But just glad to get that one out of the way, in all honesty. Now, a bit like a toucan, this is a jackdaw, a Jared's jackdaw library. And once again, these eventually got amalgamated with the Hutchinsons. They didn't last very long. I think Hutchinson, like the toucans, like they were just chucking anything, just experimenting really to try and find something that could compete with the penguins, I think, in all honesty. And lo and behold, I was really pleased to get in 1937. I was really pleased to get this because I had like number 16 and number 18, 19, 20. I didn't have number 17. So that worked out really, really well. So pleased to do that. Now, once again, a little bit of gluing required there. But that's about it. So another fairly easy fix. It's not unusual with books of this sort of age, 85 years old, to have to do a tiny bit of repair work. So I'm not worried about doing that. It's really, really straightforward. There we are. Just stopping it getting any worse, which is all that this is about. I think it was absolutely fine inside, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah, that's super cool. And the last paperback was this one, so Sentimental Journey. It's one of the first 3 Pan books published in paperback, and it's not in their usual format. It's got the Pan emblem there. That was designed by author Mervyn Peake, in case you didn't know. And once again, I have a funny feeling, I'll have to check, but I think this one is ever so slightly better condition than the one that I've got. Almost all copies that you find have got a faded spine because it's got this like cherry red cover there, and that just fades. So mine, once again, has faded. I think all the copies I've had of this have faded, and I've had multiple over the years. Then the last thing I picked up, and I wasn't expecting to get any of these, to be honest, was I've got a couple of Everyman's, and they're Charles Dickens ones. So it's the Pickwick Papers and Martin Chuzzlewit. Now, these were £7.50 each, which isn't a bad price, because generally online they go for about 20 if they're in tip-top shape. Now, these particular ones, there's lots of different ways of finding these because they were reprinted for years. This era of Everyman is the era that I like. So they're like the brown boards for fiction, the maroon boards for fiction rather, and they've got the gold lettering. There was a cheaper edition and there was a more expensive edition, but this is the one which is sort of the middle of the road. So yeah, number 235 of Everyman's Library, and it usually gives you the printing history on these. So yeah, first published in this edition 1907, and this one is from 1928. So it falls right in the sort of ballpark era that I like to buy these in, which is from the 1920s. So a little mark on the front there, which has just come off quite nicely with my fingernail. Now, the dealer I bought these off, he obviously had this one online because he had, like, I think that was like some sort of catalogue number. So I'm going to rub out that. They were £7.50 each book, which is actually cheaper than what they go for. There was a chap on Abe when I looked these up a little while back, and he had a run of all the Dickens, all in this particular sort of style, which is my preferred style, and they were £20 each, but they were, I would say, they'd been bought and they'd never ever been read. I think for a book like this is how I like to read them. If I want to read an old edition, that is, of course. If it was a new edition, I'd probably pick up a clothbound classic of it, or a modern classic, but the purpose of this bit is just to do the internals. And that's what we're doing here. We'll do the edges and externals in a minute. That's okay. So it's not mint, but it's definitely not bad, you know. I really, really like these editions. Pickwick Papers isn't bad. It's not my favourite by any means, but it's a good one, and I'm glad to have it. Obviously, quite a few to get with old Charles Dickens and Martin Chuzzlewit. This is a good one. It's a little bit more worn than the other one, the spine at least. But he's all right. So it's got some pencil marks inside, so we'll get those in a moment. Let me just check this. It sort of naturally falls open at that page, but no obvious reason why. So this one, yeah, same period, 1929, which is absolutely fine. As long as they're in the 1920s or earlier, I'm absolutely fine with these. I don't really want any from the 30s or beyond. Forward by G.K. Chesterton in this one, the Father Brown author. And once again, I'm going to use the other book, similar size, as a little table resting spot for these. I'll take out the dealer's inventory. I think he had these listed on Abe Books, so that's why he made a little note of these when I bought them. But thankfully, he wrote them in very, very soft pencil, so they've come out absolutely fine. So there we are. So that was a few little additions that just came my way just now. So I think while we've got them here, I'll just give these boards a wipe, because potentially that top edge there has got the best part of almost 100 years worth of dust. These are about 95 years old, so I'm going to do the top edge at the very end. But I don't think these are too bad, but I'm not sure about the top edge here. Actually, surprisingly good considering their age. Surprisingly good, that. The dealer I bought these off, generally speaking, his shop I wouldn't say is immaculately presented, but they've got a lot of stock in there, you know, and it must be difficult to do. I did see someone else in there apart from him sort of doing a bit of shelving. I think they'd had a couple of collections in that needed to go out. Yeah, the tops of these, considering their age, they're not bad at all. There we are. So that's those two done. Right. Now I think what I'm going to need to do is go through the books that I've got here, and some of them are going to be able to be polished and some of them aren't, but all of them need a bit of a rub. So if I just take off, these are slightly odd shaped, so I might just do these separately, but the ones that I can polish I'm going to put in a separate pile, like this one for example, and the ones I can't will go in a different pile again, like this one. This has got like a papery cover, there's no way I can polish this, it would wreck it. So I'm not even going to try. So that can go over there, like that. And that one can just go over there. And then let's give these each a little handful of brush first of all. Considering their age, there's not a massive amount of dust coming off these at the moment. Although some of the ones I bought from AllYouNeedIsBooks definitely are dusty, and will definitely benefit from a bit of a clean. Yeah, there's a little bit coming off here now. Not loads, just a bit. There we are. So that one I can give a careful polish to, but those two I can't because they're paper covers. But that can go over there for the can be polished. Let's get the next batch here. So while I'm cleaning, I did want to tell you, I've had a few people ask me about, am I going to be doing a beer a day? So last Christmas I did a bit of like a beer advent calendar, which was I took the Brewdog advent calendar for the year, and I opened a beer a day and did like a little YouTube short on it, and they went down very well, and lots of people said, oh, I hope you're going to do it again. Well, I'm not. And the reason why is because I found the beer's a bit samey, and plus it's not really the healthiest thing to do, having a beer every single day. I like to have a beer maybe once a week or something. So what I'm going to be doing instead is 25 objects of desire. So what that is 25 things from my collection. It's going to be encompassing like a bit of my Star Wars. I'm going to get up some of my favourite books, some signed stuff, some signed pictures, sort of memories that are special to me, which I shall do one of those each day. So 25 objects of desire. So it's something that I'm going to be working on over the next couple of days, and look out for one of those starting the 1st of December right up until Christmas Day. All right. So I do hope you enjoy those. Right. So those 3 there are not going to be polishable, so they can just go over there. That one, however, is going to be absolutely fine. Let's do these 3. They'll be fine for a polish. Lovely. Right, let's get the next wedge. Right then, so back to the books we saw a bit earlier. Lovely, so these are all shiny covered ones, so they can all be polished. Next little wedge here. So it's funny, in the second-hand shop I just went in, I came across a Panther crime band, one that I haven't got, but it was really, really hammered, and I have seen quite a few online which have been hammered. What I haven't done, and what I should start doing, is if I've seen them, I should start making a little list of the ones that I've seen, so I can try and pull together a bit of a listing, like a guide, a checklist as it were. So I might start doing that with the ones that I've got and what I can see online, and sort of take it from there really. Right, now these are all fairly shiny covers, so we should be good to go, giving all of those a polish without incident. That's fine. Next little wedge here. This includes my very rare copy of Full House. So, although that copy of Full House has got no back cover, I have got a friend who's got a copy of this, who's going to send me a scan of the front and inside back covers, and I might make a mock-up just to have as a placeholder. We'll see. Yes, no, 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 yes. Just a few more to go now. Actually, I've got 2 4 squares. It would make more sense to do them together because they're of more similar size, and look at the dirt on these, so these are quite dusty. huge difference to those. They were really, really dirty. They will be okay to have a polish. This I'm just going to do on its own. Still very, very dusty top, this. Probably never been done since the 60s, so that's a lot of dust accumulated on there. There we are, it's okay. And just a couple more here. Neither of these are too bad. Lovely. Right, so that's everything sort of brushed down, and then I've got a pile of books that need polishing. So let me get my old Mr. Sheen out now. Right, so these shouldn't take too long. We've only got about 20 or so to polish, so it shouldn't be too bad. I'll find a clean bit of cloth here. That corner there should do the trick. Give it a bit of a squirt. I love these. This pair of Danger Man books are really nice. I'm really, really pleased with those. It was such a great series. I just want to go and watch some more this afternoon. But I've got other fish to fry. I've got some editing that needs doing. They don't edit themselves, these videos, sadly. Now, I have recently updated my Patreon and channel member thanks. Thank you to all my supporters. It really, really does make a difference each month, and it's so good and so lively, and give me great suggestions, keep me on my toes. It's all good stuff. And if you want to join my Patreon or YouTube channel memberships, just from as little as £1 or $1, get early access at least to one video a week, sometimes more than that, but at least one video a week early, and help the channel keep the lights on, as it were, then please come over and join us. Now, I'm wondering how these are going to clean up, hopefully quite nicely. Yeah, these are really nice. There's something about them that I'm really enjoying, so yeah, definitely going to make a bit of an effort to try and track a few more of these down, I think. I know Morris hasn't got any more All You Need Is Books, because I bought the two that... He had a few more, and he had some Robert Van Gulicks, but they're ones I've already got. So I know he hasn't got any that I've not seen already. This was good as well, seeing Ruth Rendell's first book in paperback. Never seen this one before. The hardback's a fortune. It's well, £1,000, I think, from Doomed to Death in hardback first edition. I know she was one of the authors that my mum very much enjoyed. I think she read them all. And she also wrote under the name Barbara Vine, was one of her pseudonyms. But she's sadly gone now. That's Ruth Rendell. But very nice to find that one. It's the Hancock book, which once again I'm hoping is going to clean up quite nicely. I'm guessing this was published around the time of the TV series going out on BBC. I'm guessing. Lovely. It's about as good as that one's going to get. But look, I've only done 5 books, and look at the muck that's come up. Incredible, isn't it? When I was young, I knew a guy who had met Tony Hancock when he was a young man. He worked in the West End in London, and Hancock was on the bill one night. I don't know if it was like a variety night or something along those lines, but Hancock was playing, and he was there. He said he kept himself very much to himself, and he was already a bit of a spent force. I think it was just prior to him. I think he went out to Australia and tried to get big out there, as I recall. But it's pretty nice to hear that story. Yeah, some nice bits of dirt coming off here, which is exactly what I was hoping. Yeah, and that's almost come up like a different book. It was full of little marks and things, and it's come up absolutely lovely. Just a tiny bit of like surface wear, that's all it was. Lovely. Yes, I'm quite excited about doing the 25 objects of desire. I do hope it goes down well, and I hope I pull enough stuff to appeal to all the different sorts of viewers on my channel. The thing I've not got a lot of really to show is the retro gaming stuff, but I've got my Xbox, which might warrant a video. They're only going to be YouTube shorts, don't forget, so they're going to be 60 seconds maximum length. I imagine a lot of them will be a lot less than that. I'm going to do them off the hoof. They're not going to be scripted or anything like that. I'm just going to have the item in question in front of me, and we'll record what comes to mind. But I'm looking forward to pulling the bits out tomorrow and starting to film a few in anticipation. Get them uploaded, ready to rock and roll. And I'll do, I'll be posting them at 5:30 each day. And my regular videos will still go out as normal at 5:45 or thereabouts. Yeah, I was hoping that this dirt was going to come off, but sadly it's not, unfortunately. It's a shame because the book is actually fairly sound. But none of these are rare, and I'm sure I'll be able to pick up an upgrade down the line. Eventually. The front's alright. Yeah, it was a little bit borderline, that one, since my other ones are really, really high grade copies. So it's a little disappointing on that one, but not the end of the world. This is a bona fide Pan classic. I remember selling this in the 90s. Still selling lots then. People would come in asking for it. It's good to have a copy in my collection. This was nice. This is definitely an upgrade to the copy of Octopussy that I've got. Not a massive upgrade, but it was too good to leave behind, you know, at 3 for a £5. Yeah, nice one that. I like the way he's about to blow through the gun. In fact, that was one of the books that was in my top 10 favourite Ian Fleming books, was that one. So very pleased to get another first edition, and a really nice condition one at that. Very unusual, so it's good. Once again, this was an absolute beauty. Miles better than the one that I've got, but it was one of the Abraham Games designed covers, so I'll be able to move on my double without too much trouble because they're highly collectible. And there's so few of them to actually pick up, so that's good news. I think when you come across books, even if they're ones that you've got and they're in tip-top shape like that, I'm just going to pick them up because you just don't see them like that, generally speaking. This is the first of my black-covered Orwells that I picked up in ages, and they're always worth grabbing if they've got perfect spines, which this one has. It's got a few other faults, don't get me wrong, but it's not bad in all honesty, and I said the fact that it's my favourite Orwell as well, I couldn't leave it behind really. Really nice cover, this one. I like this. It's actually come away a little bit there at the bottom of the spine. Back to the glue. Didn't spot that first time round. There we are. Stop it getting any worse, right? That's why we do it. So let's just pop them all together. It's a very satisfying experience cleaning books. I know it's weird, but when you're making them as good as you possibly can, and you can see the visible dirt that's coming off them, it really is quite satisfying. Look at that. That's just what we've done in that little pile of books there. We've got about the same amount to go again. So I shall work my way over to this bit now, so I'm not rubbing dirt back into the books again, because that isn't recommended. But this one is a little bit more fragile. We've repaired it as best we can, but I just need to go careful because the cover's a bit loose. But you know, I've been after one of these. I've had a search on eBay for ages for this one, and one hasn't turned up, and then lo and behold, it's in my local bookshop. Typically, I said once I've got them all, when I'm really close to having all the ones designed by Abraham Games, I'm missing I think 2 now, but once I've got them all, I'll dig them out and we'll do a proper like retrospective of all of them, and I think that'll be a really nice, interesting video. That lovely, that's coming nice. And this one was beautiful to begin with, this book on San Quentin Very, very nice indeed, but it'll be even better once I put my polish over it. Got a couple of little cover blemishes off, which have come right off straight away. Yeah, very nice indeed. Excellent. So yeah, a few good books this time round, some good new books as well, which I've been I've either read or I'm looking forward to reading. I have finished that toy catalogue one, the Ramsey's Diecast catalogue, and that's a great read. Really, really good. That recommended if you like a bit of die casts, which I do. Right, last little wedge now. Here we go. Not expecting wonders with this one. It was pretty beaten up to begin with, but it's rare. A few splashes of something along the top sort of banner there. Number 9. Yes, I hope you've enjoyed seeing me go through my latest pickups. There's a little bonus section in the middle there, which I wasn't expecting, but no less welcome. There may or may not be one of these in December for November pickups, because I honestly haven't picked up that much lately. You're bang up to date as I film this at the end of November, but you never know. If I get anything decent come my way, or if I do manage to visit All You Need Is Books before the end of the year, I shall do a brand new video then. But at the moment I'm not watching anything. I'm not expecting any sort of collections to come my way. Just a handful of vintage penguins, nothing too special, and it's stuff I've already got, so nothing too special to on the horizon book wise at the moment. But rest assured, if anything does come my way, I will give you a shout. So as I do this very last one here, what a great one to end on. Thanks very much for watching today. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you've not already, do please hit the subscribe button for regular vintage paperback and related content. Not all paperbacks, of course. We do other things as well on the channel, vintage toys, and we do gaming a little bit, and some other bits and pieces, retro gaming that is, not modern stuff. But yeah, if you've not subscribed, do please hit the subscribe button. And I'll see you again very soon with another video. Bye.